When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.
Peace, 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 and power, family. Peace, 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 and power. Dr. Dennis Asar Winkler back in the building with Queen of B. Doc in a Box on Black Box Radio. We are here. We're coming strong. We're ready. I mean, you know, we a little tardy, but we're on time. You know, we had to finalize some things. But nonetheless, family, get ready for a good discussion. Get ready for a good topic. If you're here, if you're not here, you know, if you're here right now, like the show, like it before it gets started because we know that you're gonna like it, right? Leave us some comments, talk in the chat. Let's make this thing an interactive conversation. At some point, Sister Queen and I will put the link in the chat board so that you can join us in this discussion. All right, so family, Queen, what you got for us?
I got good evening, Black Boxes. Listen, greetings from the South Carolina studios. We're in the box. We're in the Chuck, baby. Mount P for sure. So I'm bigging up Charleston, South Carolina, and telling everybody, hey, from the Gullah Geechee people of the Chuck. But tonight, listen, I am excited about this conversation because, you know, politics is big right now. And I need to hear what's up with these Trumpers, these black men out here loving. But it's not only black men, but it's a lot of black men that love Donald Trump. So this conversation is fire. We're going to make it fire. We're going to put the chat in, and we want everybody to jump in the chat. Don't hold back. Talk to us. And we're going to have a good discussion tonight.
Jump in the chat. Don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Real talk. How do you come up with these things?
I don't know. I'm good. I rap on the side.
You rap on the side.
I got bars on the side. Real talk.
Okay. All right. That's what's up. So, you know, before we get started, to give some people some time to get up in the building, Queen. Right. Like what's some of the things that's going on out in this community that we can touch on before we get into the collective biopsychosocial profile of black Trump supporters? And it's, in fact, I left out male, but black male Trump supporters. You know, I want to specifically speak
that's a conversation. It's a lot going on. Listen, you know, we just done the Olympics. The Olympics just got done. We just done it, and Africans was everywhere and meddling up for every country in this world. Every European country that said it's the 5 continents, but Africans is everywhere. Mm-hmm. From the European countries to the African countries. So it's beautiful to see. Unfortunately, I think there was some, you know, I would say diversions, perversions. There's always some stuff going on. So the way they treated some black women, I think it's been a problem. This breaking foolishness, that has been the talk of the town, is breaking in the Olympics. I just don't understand the breaking. If you saw the people who were breaking, the judges, the people talking about it, no Africans in the building. Cultural appropriation is real. This is the example that we have to celebrate what our children create, because someone else will take it and create a whole industry around it. We see it wasn't breaking in the Olympics, it was called broken. So we saw broken for the first time.
Broken, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So see, interesting enough. Now, you know, we had some conversation around this, and I'm going to come for you a little bit right now, because you are one of the folk at least I could be wrong. You could correct me if I'm wrong. One of the many folks that told me it doesn't matter. Why we talking about this hip hop thing? See, now you gotta understand. Now breaking.
Excuse you.
Go ahead. Tell me what you said.
Excuse you, because we about to pop off tonight.
Yeah, we gonna pop off. We gonna pop off.
Because I never told you it didn't matter where hip hop was from.
Why are we talking about this stuff?
Regardless of what it is, it's African. It came from African people, African young people, and we're trying to divide it into Puerto Ricans and all, but we all Africans. That's what I said.
Hold up, but you said there wasn't no black people in there, so if they all Africans, I'm certain there was some Puerto Ricans up in there. So,
but I'm just saying
there was I'm certain there was Puerto Ricans in the building. So keep it.
Puerto Ricans are Africans.
Well. So then you shouldn't be upset because there was definitely Africans in the building if you say they are African.
I'm saying the common denominator for all the people fighting over hip hop is that we are African descendants.
Okay,
that's the common denominator.
Okay, I'm asking you a question, American. Queen. I'm asking you a question.
Black Americans.
No. No. But I'm asking you a question.
What's the question?
I ain't trying. You ain't got to prove to me who it is. I get you with that. But what I'm saying is that is why the conversation is important.
True.
Because not just you though, but many people, and I had worse conversations and worse arguments. I even got to some degree very disrespected on various levels by various people just because I said that hip hop is an African American invention.
It is that.
I can include, when I say African American, I can say Black American, I can say Puerto Rican American if you want, and if you call yourself Black, then I don't get it, but we're not gonna get stuck there. But nonetheless, that isn't why the whole point I'm saying here. That is why it's important that we make sure that we protect the things that we. What are you reading? Unfortunately, hip hop culture.
Coco Alexa. Hey, Coco, we're glad you're here with us. She said, unfortunately, hip hop culture has been bastardized and fed back to us. Bastardized.
What do you think she means by that?
I think she's talking about the way that we don't own it, and that the folks who are putting the music out put out the worst iterations of hip hop. So it is a bastard type music now. There's no uplift. When hip hop started, it had some cultural stuff. It had love for Black people, but also it talked about the struggle. And now what we hear is foolishness.
Well, I think there's always a difference though. I can agree with that on one level, but I would say that's the commercialization or commercialized hip hop. There's many hip hop artists out here where hip hop started, was no commercialization. There's still people out here that actively engage in hip hop every day. We just haven't heard about them. In fact, we do know about them. And we do know about them. We just don't count them as hip hop stars. So
not only that though, you got to look at what on the music. When we look at it on the music level and what's being packaged on radios and these award shows, this what we see is the Sexy Reds. And not just the women, the males too. The hip hop artists.
No, stay on the women. Stay on the women. Talk about the women. Don't include the males. Got all types of problems already. Just stay on the women right now.
Problem too. With their music too. Lil Rel, Lil Lou, all the little boys. Their music ain't saying much neither. So I just think that what she's saying is that someone is bastardized, and then we are being fed back to us to eat it.
Right, but again, I want to go back to what I'm saying and what I'm arguing. If we only speak to the hip hop that has been bastardized, we overlook the hip hop that's still out here and very cultural. Because just because it's not on mainstream radio or mainstream media or they don't have a record label behind them doesn't mean that we don't have pure, culturally, social oriented hip hop out here. I mean, it just doesn't mean that.
I think he's talking on a mainstream level. You're right. You can search for some great hip hop artists. I could drop a few that I know about.
It's probably more than.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's just that the record label didn't pick them up.
They're not on a commercial rotation though. That's
right. Absolutely.
About.
So commercialization is we at some point. And I agree with that. It would be nice if the commercialization or the big industries would promote some forms of hip hop that is more socially appropriate. The problem is We know that we're at war, and we know that those people, those entities, those organizations, those institutions will weaponize anything that we create and try to use it against us. So I
Absolutely.
am saying lift up. I am saying just for the sake of this conversation and any conversation I'm going to be in on, I'm going to argue for those hip hop artists that we know are out here doing good work but don't get the limelight.
Well, I'm glad you're arguing for them, and I think they do need to be platformed more. But of course, when it comes to commercialization, we hear trash, and unfortunately, that is being manifested. Behaviors are being manifested, and everything in our culture, and it's unfortunate. But the music
Right.
is still big.
So
It's
so
huge.
how do we counter that narrative is by sharing the other side of the story. We
I
share,
think we can share the other side of the story, but we also have to continue to embrace our young people, and even the ones who are putting out this horrible music. We have to embrace them and kind of flip flip what we see out here because it's still their creation. They're still creating more. I mean, as you look, hip hop has gone from a New York form to a Southern form to a Cali form to the Afro beats is in the house now. We got music that continues to actually reinvent itself, and that's our young people. They are innovators, and we got to embrace that. And we see breaking now, and broken is in the Olympics, and they breaking it up for sure.
So tell me more about that. What are you so?
They
What are
had a
you?
chick who was a breakdancer from Australia, bruh.
She can't.
She
She can't.
broke a mess, but she's a PhD. So of course now they're gonna move her into being the official in breakdancing, which is that's what's gonna happen. And it's to me it's nonsensical. She cannot even dance, not even breakdance. She was a mess. You have to pull her up and see her routine. It was disrespectful to the young Africans that started the genre, the music, the clothing, the swag, everything that attached to breakdancing. And I don't even know this breaking, who changed the name? They changed the name, they make it something else. And here we go. A mess.
What's the name?
They says breaking now. I'm like, what the heck is breaking? It definitely exists, and it's unfortunate it's not mainstream, but even other cultures have adopted hip hop, Latino, Asian. Hip hop has become global, been global. You're right, sis. Anything we do is global. R&B went global, gospel's global. Whatever Africans put out shall go global. The process is, do we embrace it long enough so we can own it? The next group of music that comes through will be global. Afrobeats is global. It's nothing we put out that doesn't go global.
Did you hear Buju Banton's comments about
Oh, I
his
love it.
ideas of Afro
And he's
beats?
absolutely right. They're making
Yeah,
all this money and they're not talking about what's going on in Africa. I agree.
and then a lot of quite a few of their
Burna
artists,
Boy.
you
Burna
know,
Boy, we're talking to you.
and I heard how someone was speaking about Afrobeats the other day and having the same conversation that you and I had some time ago, and they said there's Afrobeat and then there's Afro beats,
Oh, wow.
right? And then because you and I was having this conversation about, I said fella sounds like it sounds like jazz to me,
Who?
and yes, yes,
Really?
Fela, yes, it sounds
Say that?
and yes, it put it on. You gonna hear all the
Maybe
horns, the
he's the
whole.
father of Afrobeats. I don't
Well,
sound like jazz to me.
but no, look, if I put it on and you told me that doesn't sound like jazz, I
It
would.
doesn't to me.
Well,
Like you
yeah,
said, it
yeah,
sounds like to you. It doesn't.
but I listened to some people talk about it. They agree with that. Is very jazz oriented in influence. But two, what I've found out is that there's Afro beat and then there's Afro beats, and what they
Oh,
say
wow.
Fela does is Afro beat.
Wow.
And what we're
Okay.
listening to now is Afro beats, and there's a distinction between the two.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, now I've heard this on check out Black Liberation Media. The DJ on there, what's the brother name? I can't think of the brother name, but Black Liberation Media, and he was breaking it all down today. I think it was today or yesterday or something like that. And he was speaking to it, and he also said he spoke to this idea of how it definitely sounds like jazz, and the new one is more like it has this Caribbean up tempo, right? But my argument has always been that Afrobeat beats does not only have the Caribbean, let's say dancehall beat, but it also sounds like dancehall mixed with R&B. And so
They sing a lot. You're right.
And I'm saying some of the same. I don't know what you call it, but it's like the same rhyme, the same pattern. Like you can tell, it's basically like you can listen
Because
to
it's
it
the
like
same people.
what is
The
but also
patterns
but
only exist because
I'm
the same people are
but
producing it.
yeah, but I mean I think it's more than that. But it's kind of like if
It
you
is
like if
that.
you let me give you an idea what I'm trying to say. So if you listen to someone freestyle on someone else's somebody made a album kind of popular, and they took that beat, and then you hear somebody freestyle or flow on that same beat, you typically see they might change the words, but they have the same cadence or the same pattern of lyrics and things of that nature. So I'm saying it's that close that it literally sounds like the same song with different words.
I believe that. It's the same people. I look at here. They make jollof rice in Africa. They make a red rice in South Carolina. Same thing, but it's not as spicy. It's called red rice, but it's actually jollof. It's just the same
Uh,
people creating the same
yeah,
stuff.
I get you. I'm just not. I mean, I just don't think it's that
You don't
simple.
weigh that.
Yeah, I just don't
There
think
are
it's that
also
simple.
genres
Well,
from different countries as well. Afrobeat is South African music. I don't think so, but
well, well,
I
well.
don't think Afrobeat is South
Lit,
African music.
and then notice she left that's S out.
Yeah, that's the chick from I think they're talking about the little chick, Tyler, Hala, whatever her name is, the water song and her music. She's from South Africa. Now we're going to take Afro beats and split it up in the regions of Africa. I don't know why we're doing it, but
Well,
maybe
I mean,
it is what
okay.
it is.
Well, it's no different than when you just started by splitting it up and saying that hip hop is a New York thing. I mean,
I
it's
just said that now we see iterations of hip hop. So I
yeah,
guess this is
right.
iterations of Afro beats.
Absolutely. It's
I
not.
get it.
See, people like I don't see the problem I have with this argument the whole time is that we don't think we can acknowledge where a thing maybe originated or had some influence from, and also respect the whole. It's like we don't think we can respect the individual and the whole. We can do both. The problem is people want to also people typically who don't want. I think people struggle to do both, and I think we'll speak too much more of that today when we get into this mindset of a of a
Trumpers.
the Trumpers. Yes.
Yeah,
So
and so this is her last hit. Coco says it's like Baltimore club mix versus Jersey club. Oh, don't this your thing right here, the Baltimore
no,
club, bro.
actually, and again, that's another thing. Like people were like, well, in fact, people in Jersey literally think that they started club music. I mean, literally in Philly, in Philly.
Really?
And they listen. And the interesting thing is that they even listen to our artists, and they think somehow those artists were their artists. Thumbs up, hands down, thumbs up, or like even some very Baltimore type of things. But it's no big thing. I can understand how somebody can be mixed up by it. But I think for historical purposes, I think it's important to begin
Define
to
it,
to do all of that type of thing.
define and attach where it comes from, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just to show a strong history. I hope my computer don't die over here.
Well, you got 14 of them on there over here. So if one died, we got 13 more to hit.
The problem is my presentation is on one.
Okay, so you ready to jump in to really what it is? What it is? We talking about black Trumpers, black male. Let's keep it male. Trumpers.
Black male Trump. Yeah, let's pop off. Let's see if this
The
thing.
bio, psycho, all your words. Hit it off.
All
Let's
right,
go.
so that's wrong. That's the wrong screen. Let's add this
That's
to the
the wrong
stage.
one.
Now this is it. Bam. All right, family. We hope that this computer begins to charge over here. We might have a problem here, but nonetheless, I want to talk about Donald Trump supporters today. Queen, is it possible to take that banner off the bottom, the doc in the
Of
box.
course it is.
Thank
Anything
you.
for you, sir.
Oh, thank you. I tell you, she's treating me really nice today, family. I really appreciate it. You know, it's awesome to have someone with
Oh my
so
God.
jovial, working along your side. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start off by saying, I'm just read the topic: collective biopsychosocial of Black Trumpers. And I got here. I says this is not a
You
diagnosis.
forgot a word.
I think it's just cut off because the way
No,
it's
you
in
forgot
this.
black male Trumpers. You keep saying black Trumpers.
Okay, black male Trumpers.
Yes.
This is not a diagnosis, but a collective case conceptualization for educational purposes, educational entertainment purposes. So let's keep it moving. Oh, did that?
Oh, wow.
What happened there?
I don't know. What'd you do?
So, what is a biopsychosocial? So, let's talk about the biopsychosocial model. Is an approach to understanding mental, physical health through a multi-systems lens, understanding the influence of biology, psychology, and social environment. Let me slow that down a bit. So it's understanding what I'm saying. What I'm posing is that we begin to conceptualize Black male Trump supporters, and it's very. There's many different profiles, but let me say I'm going to speak to some fundamentals and perhaps what could be happening with many of them from my experience in the community, in our society, and also look at what some research says today in a loose way. So again, the biopsychosocial model is an approach understanding mental and physical health through multi-system lens, understanding the influence of biology, psychology, and social environment on the individual. But in this case, on the collective Trump, Black male Trump supporter. So when we talk about biology, and what we'll do, Queen, we'll take some time and we'll just talk about some of these things, right?
Okay.
So biology. When you think about a Black male Trumper, and you might ask yourself some questions. You might say, how? Why? How could a Black man be a Trumper? You know, there's various reasons, as we spoke about on different shows, but today let's talk about it a little bit more. So biology refers to our genetics, our physical health, and the functioning of our organ systems. So Queen, when you think about a Black Trumper on a biological level, what comes to mind?
To me, he looks unhealthy. They might be unhealthy too.
He looks unhealthy.
Trumpy? Yeah, Trumpy doesn't look healthy. He's a different. He's not particularly white. He's not particularly pink. He's orange. He's
We talking about the Black male Trump supporters.
Well, I'm just saying he doesn't look particularly the most healthy. So I'm thinking that these guys aren't healthy neither in their mindset and their movements because they like him.
So you're saying biologically you feel like they might not be as healthy. They might not be healthy.
I think they got some physical health issues too.
So when you think about one you've come into contact with, like when you think about the person you've come into contact with, a Black male Trumper, what do you notice about them on a physiological level?
I've seen a few of them and they all look different. The psycho level is the issue. I'm not sure in the biological, they look normal, actually. They look like Black men. From I've seen them from almost every level. They're very paternalistic.
Right.
I don't know if that's psycho. That's not biological, but they're very paternalistic.
Physically, I think they present as being very, let's say, rigid.
Very rigid and manly.
Very manly.
Well, they call themselves alpha males, so that means they're strong males. You know what I mean?
So they have like what kind of gait?
Do you think if they got the bop?
They
got the Black man bop.
Well, there is definitely I think there's some truth to what you're speaking to when you say that there's a level of what you call some will call and some will debate a level of hyper. I'm going to say hyper rigidity. I'm going to say
Very rigid.
I feel a very
Yeah.
a high level of tension. I feel
Yep.
like they're very tense and rigid when you talk
Very
to them.
rigid. Yep. And
Huh?
a lot of that I've seen, they're very they now have a lot of respect for women, womanizers.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen almost that same behavior pattern. They have a problem with women, which Trump does too. He has a problem with women.
So they seem to they have a problem with women, you say.
Yeah, they're very paternalistic, very rigid with women, and they have to be in certain spaces. That's
Mm-hmm.
why Kamala is not attractive. She's strong. She doesn't fit in a lot of their boxes. I think there's a lot of rigidity, as you say, to these men, which and Trump too. But they're hurt, which he seems to be a hurt little guy too.
Trump actually, interestingly, said Kamala is attractive. Did you hear this
And
message?
you see how he tried to switch up. Coco says they look unhealthy to me, tired and depressed. Yes, sis, I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they look
So
unhealthy.
they seem like
and
they're carrying a lot of
a load.
stress. They're carrying a
Hmm.
lot of tension. It's like they're like even they seem physically like they might just blow up,
Like
explode.
Joe Brown. Look at
Judge,
him. In his face, he looks like, look at them bags. He look like he's going through it.
Coco said it looked like they're carrying a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
I would
said he looked
agree.
tired and depressed,
Yeah,
unhealthy to her.
so yeah, I agree with that.
Me
So
too.
like now moving on on a psychological level, so mental health
Is
mental
health.
health is health, and one psychological well-being impacts both mental and physical health. Unhealthy maladaptive moods, thoughts, and behaviors can all be symptoms of mental conditions and in turn can contribute to overall health. So on a mental level, what do you notice with these guys that you're talking about? When
They
you
live
know
in their own universe.
they live in their own universe.
Mentally, yes, because the things that they cover is to me is nonsensical in a lot of things. I mean, with the expectations for society, for women, for their place in society, it's all fanatical.
All fanatical. So what I notice is a high level of stress that you spoke about earlier.
Hmm.
On a mental level, I know it's maybe even a high level of anxiety.
Mm.
I even noticed that these guys tend to feel like they tend to be always on they're hyper vigilant.
And they're
Hyper
thin skinned. They need a lot of adulation.
they thin skinned.
Yeah, they're thin skinned. Yeah, they can't take. Yeah, you can. That's why you have to stay in your place and don't talk back because they have to feel powerful.
So they're
'Cause-
easily hyper aroused.
Very, yes.
So they're very reactive in a sense.
Very reactive.
Fragile.
Fragile, yes.
But
As we see
but
Trump he is the postmaster for that.
right. And everybody knows that Trump cannot turn down a fight, right?
Nope, because he is the ultimate winner all the time in his
He's the
in his mind,
he's the ultimate winner all the time in his
all the
mind.
time.
But I also think he feels like they feel like victims.
When it's not their way, of course.
Well, I think that the reality is they all feel like victims. And when somebody says something to them, if you ever notice, they can make including Trump. I think you said something really great that typically what we find in his followers are maybe junior replicas of him in blackface.
And blackface, yeah, because he's in whiteface.
Or you said orange earlier.
Because he's orange, but he's in whiteface.
I don't know my colors, so
Oh, you don't know your colors.
nah, I
All right,
can't.
think of cheese and then look at Trump.
Cheese is orange.
Oh my lord!
What is that, cheddar?
I think most cheese is orange. If I'm not mistaken, now I'm not the most colored person, but I thought cheese was orange, bro.
Well, it might be. I just didn't know
You know,
I was
you know
eating.
they say black people colorblind.
I mean, I like if when I was eating cheese, I like provolone, so I don't think that's.
Oh yeah, you whiteface.
Say it
Like
again.
white cheese to it.
Like white cheese,
Wow.
white cheese. So I also think on a psychological level, I think we kind of discussed it, but I see that they are
I think they've
hype.
been hurt too. Like
Mm-hmm.
Trump has
Mm-hmm.
been ruined. We can see that. But he's been
Mm-hmm.
hurt in a way too, because the way that the things that he says and the
Mm-hmm.
way he says it is
Mm-hmm.
always combative, it's always hurtful, and it's always to get a reaction or to get something for himself. The seems to be very selfish.
Yeah, that seemed to be a high level. That seemed to be almost a traumatization going on, right?
Yeah. Some trauma that they've had in their life, and then now everything they seek
Mm-hmm.
has some type of traumatic space.
Right.
Even their candidates, whatever they're doing.
It's always about defending against an enemy. They
Yep.
see they're very black and white in their thinking.
Hmm.
What you say?
I think that's true, but I don't understand how black male gets there
You
when he
don't?
lives in a society that he doesn't fit in, and then all of a sudden he's rigid in his thought. That is ridiculous behavior.
I think they struggle in relationships even.
Ooh, of
See,
course.
and so psychologically, these individuals struggle in relationship. They especially relationships that they can't dominate.
Mm, I could believe that. Very
Yeah,
domineering.
yeah.
Hmm.
So when you see men, and in fact, I think that if even if we have to look at these things a little bit more, and I think all these areas, the biopsycho and the social, are connected because when you look at it, these people, even black brothers, they are very sometimes they're ultra hyperly religious. Even they're if they're
They do everything aggressive.
yeah, and if they're not, and if they're religious, they're more like fundamentalists.
Mm.
Hey, look, fam, if you want to join the conversation, we're going to put the link in as we kind of explore this topic some. We'll be interested in hearing what you got to say. It look like D
Cliff,
Cliff. D Cliff,
yeah,
like he has a lot of thing.
the Cliff put a whole joint up in here. He said it's less of a physical presentation, it's more psychological. They seem to embrace a top down authoritative structure. They are reactive in that they lack the imagination to think for themselves or to allow others to do so. Hence, their affinity for authoritarian or even for strongman, in quotes. They toe in right wing, cake conservative line, and thus they go along with even the most ridiculous anti-black talking points of their party and their candidate. They are trying to curry favor with them. Hmm. Very insightful, Brother Cliff.
Yeah, I think that he makes some good points. I think he started
I
writing
did so too.
I think D Cliff. I think you started writing way back when we was on the other slide though. Because you,
Started right last week.
hey D, you put some work in, bro. We thank you for that.
Yeah, that
But
was insightful.
because you say it's less physiological. I think it's both. I think we just got to know what to look for.
That's true.
As a psychotherapist, we understand that everything is connected, right? So
Right.
I would also imagine on a physical level, these people have a lot of stress on their body,
Hmm.
and all these different type of things. There's a lot of anger and tension that's built in. There's a lot of again rigidity that happens. When you sit with people and you really begin to understand that all these things are connected, and then we can kind of know what to look for. Because really, in the physical, the physical appearance, lots of times it's also demonstrated in the behaviors, and that
Yeah.
goes to our next point, which is social, right?
Hmm.
And let me see. So this is an example, and an example I didn't mean to leave this in here like this, but nonetheless, individuals who have appropriate social support. Okay, and where I pulled this from, it says in previous examples of depression and isolation,
Hmm.
individuals who have appropriate social support experience fewer mental health issues compared to those without this support. So what I'm really saying is here, you can see it in the physical. So someone who really who was depressed, so let's say mental, right? let's say mental, we think about mental or psychological when we think about depression. But in the physical, we see that they maybe isolate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that these people
They
tend
stay in
to
their own boxes. It's
they
very
stand.
true. Yeah, they're not going to go out their box because that's
Mhm.
where they're comfortable and they have power.
Yeah, they stay in their boxes because
Yeah,
those boxes are they feel safe.
they're safe. Yeah.
They have to create these boxes, these very rigid boxes to feel safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they need this is how they kind of survive. And when you say these boxes, see what boxes do for people who have dealt with some level of trauma or anxiety, it helps them create this false world that feels safe and predictable. And this is what you see with brothers who are typically Trump supporters. Not all, but many. Because some others might say, well, I'm into business and all that, but a lot of them are still kind of rigid like that too. So it's like I need these boxes because these boxes give me order. And so I need things to be predictable. I need to go back to the old ways. I need to do things in a traditional sense. Hence, we have what we call the conservative party.
Yeah. And remember, business is a white male capitalistic system. And so it still rides in the same streets as this conservative and all of these same streets. Not because the formula for business is the same thing. You can apply it to anything, but the business in America is capitalistic. It's the same thing. Power, So I can understand when they say they're business people. It makes sense. It all makes sense.
Right. So, I mean, it does make sense. So, right here we have 5 signs, right? Quinn, can you put the link in the chat while we're going over these 5 signs?
Sure.
If somebody want to come up and talk about these things.
I'm telling you, Clef, you wrote this paragraph. You got to come see us, bro. You got to come see us, D. Cliff.
So the 5 signs. Let me see if I can change this around a bit.
Coco Alexa, come on in.
Okay. The 5 signs of one who may identify as a Trump supporter or a right winger or what have you, or conservative. There was a study, and please pardon me on this particular slide because I wasn't able to pull the source because we were kind of rushing to get on here. We kind of changed our topic at the last moment. My fault, because the energy just wasn't flowing with what I wanted to discuss before now. But nonetheless, thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. But these are 5 signs, and I will provide the resource, let's say below the video later. So
Doc, make sure you read the whole thing because we can't really see the signs.
Okay. Well, I think some of these people are looking at this thing on TV. So they probably look. How big is your computer over there, Queen? I can see it. I read it on my computer.
I can see it, but I can't read it really good. But I can see it.
Okay.
I was just saying, if you read it, then they can actually.
Okay. You know what we could do also, Queen? We can just do this. Hold up, not that. How do I pull us?
More there too.
How do I pull us out? Okay. The 5 signs. This study, which used more robust approach than much previous research, found that the more strongly someone identified as a conservative or right wing, the more likely they were to agree with the 5 specific viewpoints. Queen, you want to help me out?
I can't really see it.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay, one,
No.
we talked about this. The belief in hierarchy. Most indicative of being on the political right was seeing the world as naturally hierarchical. This means believing that everything from people to animals and objects can be ranked based on their importance, quality or value. It's not that people on the right want the world to be this way. They just think it is naturally. What do you say about that, Queen?
Hierarchy, yes. Hierarchy shows power and structure, and then you can place yourself wherever you want, and then of course, that makes sense. Hierarchy. Yep.
Yeah. So see, the world is naturally hierarchical.
Because
when
then
you
you're gonna make a male at the top, of course. And so
and
we go from
male
there
to the top. Think about it.
all the time.
You order things. You have to order things, right?
Yep.
So now we have to deal with in this country race, class, gender, sexuality, you
Yep.
know, all these things. And typically people see these things and they see the world in this rigid perspective. And let me say this. You don't even have to be a conservative or right winger to actually think like this, because many of us are undercover right wingers. You understand?
You calling people out.
No,
You
many of
calling
us are.
nobody out.
I mean, some of my homies are. You understand? They like undercover right wingers. Because they want, because what you hear from them is that, you know, they had a good points. Candace Owens had a great point. This one had a great point. I'm not saying that they don't have great points. But you really like those points than what you're saying. People need to work. People need to do this. And so they don't even account for, for people that's able differently, or
the society,
or they see,
racism.
right, they see black people as being the problem, their own problem. See, you know, they talk about black people as if, see, they're the problem, not the system that they find themselves under, because this is the natural way that things should be structured.
Yep.
You understand? In fact, they look at things and they might see themselves as the unique black person. You see, I'm a unique black person, but the rest of y'all need to get yourself together.
Or that I can do it, and because I have succeeded, then that makes that you can do it also. And we don't understand that the system is made for at least one of us to get there, but not
Absolutely.
all of us.
Absolutely.
So be clear about that. All right, Don.
Absolutely. I mean, and let's look at the second line here. It says, since that the universe has purpose, right-wing people tended to believe there was more to the universe than just the mechanical movement of molecules. They believed it was in some sense alive and felt there was a deeper reason or purpose behind events. So, I mean, that one's kind of interesting. What do you say about that?
Listen, if whatever the world or how it was invented, it has to be invented in a way that they like it. People will say all day the Bible has issues, but they're not going to say that Adam and Eve story have no issue. I bet they'll talk about every issue in the Bible, but Adam and Eve, that's the way it started, a rib.
Yeah.
So that's what the problem is we believe what we want to believe and what fits into our narrative. And so, yeah, I believe that too.
Because and that's why you have religious fundamentalists who kind of like right wingers many times, because this is how God ordained it. In fact, God is a man. In fact,
of course,
you know, I mean, this is how they see it. This is how. Go ahead, you got something to say about that?
Of course, God is a man, baby. Don't get it wrong. But Lee Grant, you got to see this. When you're a little bitty baby, the first thing you see is the natural hierarchy with your parents on top. Babies don't have the ability to understand hierarchy. This is grown up stuff.
Well, let's flesh out what he just said, though.
Okay.
See, at least he said natural hierarchy.
I mean, it is natural because I guess your parents are at the top.
Which we can differentiate between. My thing went dead, but we made.
What
it.
if you don't see your both parents? What if you're a little baby and all you see is mommy? So then what do we do with this hierarchy that you're talking that's so natural?
Well, it is. There are some natural hierarchies, like let's say your parents, right, or whoever is going to be your caregiver. You know, even if it's one person or not, right? So, so I can agree with that. But the problem with what I'm suggesting, this is a natural hierarchy. It's not a natural hierarchy for men to be over women. It is not a natural hierarchy for white people to be over black people. It is not a natural hierarchy for you to believe that because you are cisgender that you are somehow better than a person who is not. It is not a natural hierarchy to believe that your religion is better than mine. These are made up things. When we're talking about hierarchies that are natural, we're talking about elders, we're talking about parents, we're talking about more culturally accepted hierarchies, but not these hierarchies that you're creating in making them natural hierarchies when you don't know. You believe the superstition that somehow men are better than women, and you believe, like, even if they admit it or not, when you are a right winger, and a lot of these black men are,
or even people, we believe, I'm down south, and the tradition is men. You defer to your husband, and which is, listen, I am not saying that is a problem. I'm saying that this deference is not something that has to be, or that it's natural. We've created this deference, and it's a paternalistic deference that came from somewhere. That's what all I'm saying. But deferring to your husband is a beautiful thing. If he's the type that should be deferred to. Not every husband should be deferred to. Let's be clear.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to put the link in where this article is in the chat, right? And you all can look at it a little bit more.
So Lee Grant is coming again with a little bit of baby. He let his
So
Lee Grant. You can come on the StreamYard. You can come on stage, brother. Come see us.
What does he say?
He's saying again, when you're a little bitty baby, the first thing you see is the natural hierarchy of with your parents on top. It's not a social construct. We're not talking about constructs. We're talking about what a baby sees and can conceptualize. Because the baby isn't a grown up.
Well, the reality is this, Queen. There's no, I mean, at least from me, I've already agreed with him. So, I mean, if he put it out again, I just agree with him again that there are some natural hierarchies. You understand, in a way,
I agree.
But it's not, and it's two. It doesn't make you any greater than your child. In fact, that hierarchy is so natural that most parents would give their lives for their children, whereas women and male chauvinists, and as as Brother Diallo call it, some of these male chauvinist cults, what they do is they create these ideologies that make everybody less than them, and white men are on the top. And look, the next person on the top, especially in these American streets, are white women. I don't give white women pass because they have been complicit.
Yeah, and it's not black men.
Yeah, and it's not black men
to black men. It goes from white men to white women.
And so just imagine these black men want to be, from the way that I'm conceptualizing this, many of them want to feel a sense of power. So they want to be in proximity with what they feel is powerful, even though it goes against their own culture, their own racial quote unquote group. It goes against Big Mama. But the reality is everything is a social construct. Let's get that straight. Social, cultural, construct, what have you. But nonetheless, I don't understand why Lee Grant is continuously say as a little bitty baby. Because as a little bitty, I mean, that's cool. I can agree with that. But what does that have to do with black men believing that they're better than black women, or white men believing that they're better than white women, or black, even other way around? Because but in this case, I'm not even going to say that some black women don't think they're better than black men. But in this case, I'm talking about Trumpers. I am talking about the black Trumper, the black male Trumper. In his ideology, he sees himself as more superior in many instances than his woman. He feels, and this is whole thing about, I'm not against tradition, I'm not against culture. I'm just saying this ain't our culture. You understand what I'm trying to say? This is not black culture. This is not let's say African-centered culture. Some would say, well, you know what? They think that African and black culture is weak because they allow because women and men allow each other to coexist as partners, as co-leaders. In fact, a lot of these talking points that we hear, you hear it in all our many of our conversations. Many of us are kind of indoctrinated into these talking points. That's how sometimes we can resonate. And I'm gonna tell you one thing: a lot of black men who are Trump supporters at some point had failed relationships.
Ooh.
And because they feel like these women are too liberal, these children are too liberal,
he is the bastion of failed relationships, so it makes sense.
But
this is a guy. He's on his third woman, his third man. He marries already all immigrants. He don't like immigrants, but all immigrants. So he is the bastion of failed relationships. Let's be clear.
Well, and let's say this. In this case, though, he probably rules and ruins these relationships. These men are hurt. They're hurt. See, he has enough money, probably, influence that these women would do weird things for him. But a lot of our brothers who fall into this lane, some of them have some influence and money, but lots of them don't. They just feel like women need to shut up. And if we go back to these old conservative ways, that somehow we're gonna win the family back. So vote for Trump, although Trump is not for our community, because we need to go back to the good old days, make America great again. And those of us who believe that America was one time great for black men, we really believe these things. Like, we literally believe. I'm not saying that there wasn't no order.
Give me the dates. When was America good for black people? Let's break when.
A lot of these men look back, Queen. They say when grandma just did what she needed to do and stay out of the way.
Okay, Coco said, I just don't understand why support someone who, when you step in those rooms with other Trump supporters who hate them. I think a lot of these people don't even go in any rooms. They just resonate. They see the paternal, dysfunctional. They say everything that they are in Trump. And they don't go in no room, baby. They sit at the television and they go vote.
So I got 2 more points here. So that my computer did die, but I do have my phone here. And it says acceptance, point 3. Now let me go back. The 5 signs of one who might be a conservative. Well, not that. That's not it.
That's not it. Okay.
I probably could pull it up, but nonetheless. Point 3, acceptance of the status quo rather than striving to constantly improve the world. Those on the right were more inclined to accept things as they were. Wow. They didn't necessarily see the world as something that always needs fixing or changing. So they say, look, things are good. Why do women need rights? Why do men need rights? I mean, why do black people need rights? I'm not black, I'm American, you know. Yeah. And someone might say I'm black American, but nonetheless, we need to restructure our family. And I'm telling you, some of them not even voting for Trump, or at least they're not telling you they're voting for Trump. I'm not saying vote for Kamala. I am not saying that. But what I am saying is I realize there's a psychosocial profile of black men who are Trumpsters. And some of them are extreme black nationalists even.
Ooh.
And we got to keep it a buck. I tell you, some of them are my friends. I love them, but I see the rigidity in them. I see that what they think is that somehow those conservative values that Trump and them have are in line with their conservative values as African people or black people, because there should be some order, there should be some culture, but the problem is we're utilizing white culture and we're using patriarchal culture.
Yes.
Paternalistic is the word I was also looking for. Paternalistic culture. Yes. We're utilizing racist culture. We're using,
Yeah. That's the standard, and it's not the standard.
And so even if Trump doesn't say this, and he does in so many words, and in fact, many times nearly overt. In fact, he has said it overtly. Or if you need him to say it even more overt, you have a problem with picking up on a racist person. And he's so rigid in his beliefs, he would never say that he was wrong. In fact, the same type of brothers, the black Trumpers, male Trumpers, were many times the black male Trumpers. You just threw that up there and threw me off.
Let me take that off. I had to put it up there.
But hold on, but put it back up. Look, they have a way to.
Coming back.
You know, they have a way to start things. I don't know. I heard on some other shows they start things and they go back and they talk about them at the end. That would be kind of cool, right? But nonetheless, these black male Trumpers. Mm-hmm. Where was I going, Queen?
I'm sorry, I threw you off. Sorry about that. I don't know.
Let me just say, on the point of accepting the status quo, they think things are good as they've been. They think that and I'm not going to argue that. Okay, I'm not going to argue that there doesn't need to be some change. There needs to be some change, but there needs to be change in a way Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to argue against some of their fears because some of the Trumpsters' fears are real. But most of it is blown out of proportion. So there's there's some truth to a lot of it. But the problem with us
You know
when,
what they fear? They fear transgender or anything like that. That's the biggest point. The transgender fear, women
mm-hmm,
being too powerful,
yeah,
um, things that they feel little afterwards or they want to control. Um, Transgender, that's not something I don't think anyone can control.
well,
Uh,
I do think that I think in all these arguments, there's
what's the commonality?
some real conversations need to be had.
Okay.
I was even just, in all the conversations, I was just looking at Candace Owens. She had Ray J on and a transgender woman. And I honestly, like, for example, like if I saw this one interview of Candace, see, I can see how that could win you over. Because you'll say, I can agree with some of the things Candace is saying and she's very witty and smart and all this type of
She's
thing.
sick. Candace is sick.
But at the end of the day, what happens is just because I think there's something there with what she has to say does not ignore all the other stuff she says and to the extreme levels that she will take it. What does D Cliff say here?
Well, I'm gonna give you D Cliff, but
Okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Brother Grant, you can come on. Come show yourself.
No. He's saying Jesse Lee Peterson is the GOAT of black Trumpsters. So Trumpters. That's another one. So yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson is also like a Candace Owens. In fact, you will listen to him and you'll be like, okay, he made a good point there. But the problem is, no, you can't ever say that a person doesn't make any good. You can say that, but everybody makes a good point, and this is how they lure people in, especially extreme and fearful people. Trumpsters on a psychological level, especially black Trumpsters, are afraid. They have a lot of fear inside of them, right? They have a lot of fear inside of them, and that is what's going on. So let's keep going through this.
D Cliff hit us again. I think he wrote something while we was talking.
D Cliff, you keep writing these dissertations, brother. Come on up. Not messing with you.
America was never great for black people. I agree. It was great for white men who are the driving force behind Trump. Black men and black women like Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk, etc., are basically sucking up to Trump's perceived power. The notion that Trump don't take no shit and they want to be strong, successful badasses like him. That's probably related to the fanboying so many people did during The Apprentice when the show was riding high in the TV ratings. They say Trump's money. I guess he's got some more coming. But I agree. I agree that, but it's still a sickness. It's still something there. Even the women are rigid and sick.
And we could go there. Today we decided to stay on the brothers, right? But yeah, the women definitely, right? There's some rigidity there. We can clearly say black Trumpsters. In fact, some of the white women might not be as rigid, but what they've decided to do is to vote with their husband's values.
They've always done that.
So shut up, be quiet, because these are the value systems of Trumpster type folk. Is shut up, the man rules, he leads, and you don't have an opinion. You let me speak for you. I mean, I hear this all the time with religious fundamentalists. I can speak for myself. I speak for my house. You don't speak for me, women. I mean, like literally in front of rooms. Like, excuse me. They turn to their wife and say, the wife was so nice, and she was like, "Oh, a family. We having a great time here. We want to thank you. We want to thank you for inviting us out." And after she finished on all that nice little speech and saying we, and he said, "Hold up." At the end, he gets up. "Oh, woman, I can speak for myself. Yes, family. I had a great time." Like, why? He couldn't just say ditto. You know what I mean?
No, he had
don't you speak for me. You did.
King dingling, bruh. So the clip says, I forgot about Jesse Lee Peterson. He is indeed a major Trumpster. Peterson said, among other things, that Hurricane Katrina was a result of moral poverty of blacks. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So and moving
I
forward,
expect that from him, Brother
so
Cliff.
so number three again was acceptance of the status quo, right? And then
Right.
we have
4.
number four, resistance to new experiences.
Yeah.
Being right wing was linked with a certain reluctance to try new things. This
Uh,
mindset opposes the idea that everything is worth trying or doing at least once. Now, that's yeah, that's the scary part. What do you think
There's
about
no
that?
power in new. You know, you have to define what new is and know new before you can control it. So that you're almost vulnerable and pretty and less and powerless when something new comes in the door. So of course they won't like it.
So the mindset goes back to this world is going to shit.
Of course, it's on its way.
And and I think that again, there's a need to examine some of these things because I think we can do better. But again, they are so extreme. They are so extreme that they can only see the world going to shit and things remaining the same or how it used to be as being the answer and not see how oppressive the past was.
Wow.
So number what
Drop
number
5
one?
on us.
Number five, and this is the last one. Belief in a just world. Right wing people tended to believe that the world is a place where working hard and being nice pays off. In such a world, people get what they deserve.
Really?
Yeah, you want to hear that? What you take from that, Queen?
You got to hear that again. Drop that again.
So belief in a just world. Now I've had students like this. Now think about it. It is called like they have like some religious fundamentalists that talk about how the world is I forgot what they call it. Divine. I can't think of it. It's
Why
like a divine.
always
It's
Christianity
like
bust through the door?
it's
Christianity
like
is always close.
it's
The
like
Bible.
things are it's like things are ordered, right? It's
Yeah.
like divine. I can't think of the term. Somebody put it in there, but it's like God. Things are what happens. It's
Or
ordained to
divine,
happen.
ordained,
Yeah, but
guidance.
there's a whole doctrine behind it, though. Nonetheless,
Really?
I've worked with some people, is some students who really are fundamentalists, and they really struggle with seeing the opposite of what this last point says. Belief in a just world. Right wing people tend to believe that the world is a place where working hard and being nice pays off. So, in other words, if you work hard and you're nice, then you get good outcomes. And if you don't get good outcomes, you deserve what you got. So
Oh,
black
wow.
people, women, and anybody else who are oppressed, you deserve what you got. So think about it. You get out what you put in. This is how they believe. So if anybody who's oppressed, they believe that that's their fault. It's your fault. And it goes on to say here that in such a world, people get what they deserve. This is
Yep.
how they think.
Yep.
Go ahead, sister.
Well, you know the Cliff. He's hitting us now. Cliff is hot. He said it's a fair change, and since the 1950s were so great for right wingers, all the changes since that time are seen as bad, and thus their resistance to change is reinforced. This is how conservatism is defined.
Right. And I think that on the other end, you have what
Agreed.
you call some leftists, not all leftists, but some leftists act like some people, they're extreme on both ends. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. See, the part of the issue I have with some of my left brothers and sisters, which if
It's
I had
some
to
issues over
lean,
there too. It's
if I
left wing. It's left extremists too.
and
I think we have problems
I-
on that side too.
right, and what I mean by the left, I'm saying even those that I would more acclimate myself with is that when they void themselves of culture is the problem I have. So I think that you can have a culture that is human. See, right wing culture is not human. It is not humanitarian. I'm hearing myself back, Queen. But nonetheless, it is
You are?
definitely. I said I'm hearing myself back. But
Oh,
nonetheless, it is
sorry.
not human. It is not humane. It is not humanizing. It is dehumanizing.
Mm-hmm.
It is very dehumanizing. But what happens with some of my left wing brothers and sisters is that there's they don't they some of them are to some degree anarchists. Like no rules, no order, no hierarchy. Like there's not even natural hierarchy. There's nothing. So you have both extremes, and to me that will be out of balance, out of order. It'll be non-meiotic, it'll be unbalanced. But and I'm not saying I'm on this centerpiece per se. But what I am saying is I agree with most people on the left. I'm talking about the extreme left even at times. But I'm saying that there's still, I think what they're missing is culture many times. And lots of times culture for many people on the left becomes their enemy because, Queen.
Listen, I agree. Your 5 points are amazing. They define to me what I see in these Trumpers. But we see here, Brother Cliff says they believe in a just world as they behave so unjustly toward everyone else, overthrowing governments, enslaving or exterminating others, and toward the world in which they live. Drill, baby, drill. I totally agree with that statement. They believe in a just world as they go throughout the world and cause chaos and havoc. I agree, Cliff. What you think about that statement?
Doc. I wasn't listening.
Really?
But
he says they believe in a just world as they behave so unjustly toward everyone else, overthrowing governments, enslaving and exterminating others, and toward the world in which they live. Drill, baby, drill. I agree.
Absolutely. In fact, they believe that they are just. I've always said, and I maintain that most people do more harm in the name of what they believe is good.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't do harm in the name of what they believe is bad. They believe these fundamentalist points. They believe that their world it's a just world. They believe that they are supposed to save the savages. They believe that white people are supposed to be on top. They believe that they are to make everybody Christian or Muslim or whatever. They believe these things. And I'm not saying this is not a shot to my family that are practicing religious people, but what I'm saying is that even in religious frameworks, there's a spectrum.
There's a box. If you believe this, and it's the best. Everything else ain't nothing.
No, what I'm saying is there's a spectrum. There's people who are more fundamentalists, and there's people who are more flexible in religious ideologies. Those who are more, so more flexible, more progressive, more what have you, right? So,
right.
So again, you find these people to be more the far right. Those who are less or more rigid, as we started off this show talking about. We started speaking about how did they show up. They're very tense. They're very black and white in their thinking psychologically. They see things as good or bad, good or evil, in or out, this or that, him or her. They see things in dichotomized ways. They see things in black and white ways. They see enemies, them versus us. This is what we see. And this is their mental state. Hence, it impacts their social state. So we're talking about that biopsychosocial. So the biopsychosocial, we're talking about that. The biologically, they're very tense. Psychologically, they're really fearful. And then socially, they're very awkward, rigid, and they are very controlling. Because people who are all these things psychologically tend to have to create boxes to control their own anxieties and fears. So hence, if you don't go with the way that I think things or how things ought to go, then you are an enemy and you got to get out of the way. This is how black Trumpsters see
sound like
the
Trump
world.
to me. All you define sounds like Trumpy to me, and I can see why they have a synergy, that they feel very connected to him, because he is all of that. Disconnected, he's awkward, He's a mess. All of that.
You were you reading, or is that something someone said?
Now you said that they seem to be awkward when they're socially. You said that biology, that they have issues. They seem stressed out, and then you said psychological. They have this black and white, very rigid thought. And I said, listen, all of that's Trumpy. So it makes
Oh,
sense for them to be black Trumpsters. But I don't know if in the whole scheme of things is it gonna turn out good for you, because Trump ain't thinking about no black man.
yeah. So can I pull? So as can you?
Can
Does
we put
anyone
this
want to
up?
come in and talk?
Huh?
Say it again. Say it again.
You want to put
Yeah,
this up?
yeah. I want to pull that up, but in the meantime, if you can let me find something, and kind of invite some people in, you
Well,
could you
well,
could
I've
you can pull it
invited
down.
people in. No one wants to come on be in the hot seat tonight.
Could you put the link in there
Listen,
again?
I'm gonna give y'all the link again. Come, listen, come and get hot. Make it hot up in here. You need to. God needs somebody to make it hot with him. So come on in here and let's talk about it. Let me get rid of this banner, dog. Yeah, I would like to see D Cliff, Coco, Alexa. Who else is in the chat? I haven't seen any names. Identify yourself. Come see us.
So let
Come
me
get
read
on
this.
stage.
Let me start off with the summary here, then I'll kind of find some things as you go. So this is a research finding, National Library of Medicine. When was this published? This was published. I
It
can't see
says
it.
28 April
Oh,
28th.
okay. Looks like 2011. Um, Political orientations are correlated with brain structure in young adults. The summary says substantial differences exist in cognitive styles of liberals and conservatives on psychological measures. Variability in political attitudes reflect genetic influences and their interaction with environmental factors. Now, Queen, now I know you be getting on me about some things. Now, if there's any questions about any of this, just ask the question.
I'm telling you, it's after 10 and you got all these four syllables. You got to do better. Go ahead.
Look. You know what? When
You
you
know,
go
we
to
slow over here. You got
recent
to
work
do
has
better.
shown a correlation between liberalism and conflict related activity measured by event related potentials originating in the anterior cingulate cortex. Here we show that this functional correlate of political attitudes has a counterpart in brain structure. So what am I saying? What is it saying? You can measure this
It's
thing on a
saying that
cycle.
this is you saying this is in the brain, and that the brain is a part of this. Like, wow.
It can, yeah. It says something about this, right? And
Huh.
what is going on in many people's brain, liberal versus conservative. Here we show that this functional correlate of political attitudes has a counterpart in brain structure. In a large sample of young adults, we related self-reported political attitudes to gray matter volume using structural MRI. We found
Wow.
that greater liberalism was associated with increased gray matter volume in the anterior cingulate cortex, whereas greater conservatism was associated with increased volume in the right amygdala.
So different parts of the brain.
Yeah,
Ooh,
now, and keep in mind some of the things we were talking about, right? When we're talking about the amygdala, right?
right.
These results were replicated in independent samples of additional participants. That means that this study was duplicated, and the results were similar. Our findings extend previous observations that political attitudes reflect differences in self-regulatory conflict monitoring and recognition of emotional faces by showing that such attitudes are reflected in human brain structure. Although our data do not determine whether these regions play causal role in the formation of political attitudes, they converge with previous work to suggest that possible link between brain structure and psychological mechanisms that mediate political attitudes. So, so when we think about, I highlighted.
This is deeper than I thought. The brain is so it's registering on the other parts of the brain. Wow. So part of your brain is blue and part's red, eh, bro?
so, so I think what's really important is we really look at the amygdala, right? And it's saying that, what does it say here? I just highlighted amygdala. The right amygdala also show a significant negative correlation between political attitudes and gray matter volume. Display conventions and warnings about over interpreting the correlation plot left. Let me go down. I'm trying to get to a part where we can really let's go down. Queen, do a little talking. Invite the people in, and share, subscribe, all that type of thing. While I find something for us.
My mic muted because you said that you were hearing a little feedback. But yeah, I love how you dropped this research. I don't think a lot of people know what the amygdala is. I know it's in the brain. I'm not sure it is. But I see that you talked about a part of the cortex, and then you moved into the right amygdala. I don't know what that is. But most of us don't know the brain to the point where we know the different pieces of it, the different spaces, the cortex. We're not that scientifically enhanced. A lot of us had not done anatomy to that point. I mean, I did anatomy, but not most people. So you got to break down amygdala and all of these big words after 10 o'clock, sir.
Okay, let me see if I can start here.
Okay,
I just want to read. Yeah, it's also 10 o'clock for me, so my brain is.
No, you dropped this research. You're gonna have to explain it.
We speculate that the association of gray matter volume of the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex with political attitudes that we observe may reflect emotional and cognitive traits of individuals that influence their inclination to certain political orientations. For example, where am I at? For example,
Our findings.
Where do you see that, Queen? Can you read it?
I can't because you have it. Yeah.
I lost my place.
I can't see those words enough to read it.
I lost my place.
You see up top, you're right at the top. For example, the findings are consistent with the proposal.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Proposal that political orientation is associated with psychological processes for managing fear and uncertainty. The amygdala has many functions, including fear processing. Individuals with a large amygdala are more sensitive to fear, which taken together with our findings might suggest that testable hypothesis that individuals with larger amygdalas are more inclined to integrate conservative views into their belief system.
White folks got big amygdalas.
Well, no, it didn't say white folks. It said conservatives. And when you realize that that people who experience trauma have similar amygdalas, where
they're fearful,
where they're unable to distinguish between that which is a threat and that which is not.
Mm-hmm.
So because
you see when you get older too, the fear concept, like I've seen with my mom, things that she wasn't she's more fearful now. Maybe does it get bigger, or you think more on one side of your brain? How does that work?
Well, some people have more active amygdalas, or amygdalas don't really. It gives them false alarms, and so these people are more hyper vigilant, hyper alert, hyper responsive, or reactive. Similarly, it is striking that conservatives are more sensitive to disgust. And in the insula is involved in the feeling of disgust. On the other hand, our finding of an association between the anterior cingulate cortex volume and political attitudes may be linked with tolerance to uncertainty. They don't like uncertainty. One of the functions of the anterior cingulate cortex, again, let's go back. We talked about that earlier. Uncertainty is anxiety provoking.
Yeah.
So when you struggle with uncertainty, what you do is you try to create boxes, and boxes create very rigid people. See, these boxes help these people deal or cope with the anxieties by creating certain.
They got to control and be powerful, so they got to create the space for that.
Right, but they also have to create what you call, like, people who rely on even mythologies. So what you see even in lots of conservatives, especially far right, is these conspiracy theories. You see a very dogmatic, fundamentalist, religious fundamentalism going on, because they feel like they have to protect themselves. So they create stories, and people pass these stories on, although they're not real. The black people are taking our jobs. The
migrants now, black people, migrants have taken black people's spot, the black job.
Right. So now you see the black conservative coming out of them, because now they're talking about the migrants, and they're talking about the Jamaicans and the Ecuadorians and the people from Cuba, and they're talking about everybody, and not necessarily, and that's not the problem, but they want to protect.
They all married the immigrants. What is going on with these men?
Well, see,
how you marry immigrant and don't like immigrants?
Well, being married, you talking about Trump
and the vice president.
The vice
married immigrants.
Well, we know that other guy, and we're not talking. See, we're not even talking about Trump today and the other guy, right? Okay. But we're talking about the black guys who follow them.
Black guys. Okay. Yeah. Well, I see a lot of, and I don't want to. No, I won't say a lot, but I've seen black men who have this conservative in this role. They are very attracted to other women that aren't black.
So say it again.
Men who are Trumpies and who have this very rigid space in them and the way that they go about their lives, they don't marry black women.
Oh,
and I'm not saying all.
Well, you're not saying all. You're not saying all, but what they're looking for a lot of times is what they call a docile woman.
Yeah, they're not looking for.
They're looking for an obedient woman. They're looking for someone who can be gentle with them, because they're very hypersensitive and they're hyper aroused very easily.
Well, Brother E is in the house. Respect. He said, "I'm not a Republican, but what I can discern, black Trump supporters see through Democrats' superficiality and fake support for the African American society." Well, I agree with that, but it's no inverse to vote for Trump, because he doesn't care about black people, African Americans neither. I'm like, we don't win on both sides. I'm clear on that, Brother E. What you think, Doc?
I think the problem on the right is different than the problem on the left.
Oh, okay. Let's hear that.
I do, and that's why we're looking at this research. I think we'll do one today. We're going to speak about the psychosocial profiles of Trump and Kamala supporters, and we can do that one on another day. But it's like I don't think they. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's saying that they see through Democrats, the superficial nature of how they approach it.
Well, I think that is true. They can, because they're hypersensitive. They can detect BS, but also at the same time, that's how people who deal with trauma, people who still traumatized, they can detect BS a lot quicker. Ooh. But the problem is that they also often wrong with their BS detector. And that's what a larger amygdala will that's what will happen when you have a larger or overly active amygdala. Because now you begin to see threats when threats aren't necessarily there. But when threats are there, they are more likely to see the threat than someone who doesn't have that hyperactive amygdala. So it's two things going on at one time. One, they probably can't pick up. I'm sorry, I'm not flicking you, but they can pick up on things, But two, the problem is now they fall into the other side of the spectrum, who's going to also traumatize them just as bad. Because when you think about these white Trumpsters and black Trumpsters who are voting against their own interests, so so maybe they can see it in this end, but because they're so fragmented and dichotomized in their thoughts, the people that they are more likely attracted to are the people who have this against them, black and white, all or nothing type of attitude, these Machiavellian narcissistic type of folk that are very hyperly aggressive, and so they fall for another victim. They become victimized from a more aggressive person, but they did find. But the other problem is people with these hyperactive amygdalas also find. You might think that it's BS when somebody truly want to help you, but because you've been through so much trauma, anybody who seems like they want to help you, your flag goes up. But and also we're used to being abused, so these people tend to like what Trump says and don't care how he says it. He can be very he and those who follow him, they can talk like Judge Joe Brown and be very lashing and very aggressive and very arrogant and very disrespectful, and you respect them because this is what our first examples were for us. Possibly we grew up in very unstable environments, hence we like to be in unstable relationships. Go ahead, Sis Queen.
Oh wow. That was a great comment, Brother E. These I can't understand. I'm trying to, I'm trying to understand from your scientific layout here with the amygdala. I'm not really sure what that is or where it is in the brain, but I see that it plays a heavy part to how we respond to things, and the other cortex you spoke of. Those are things I never knew or I haven't defined.
Right.
But can at some point we can say the brain processes these behaviors, but can they be immature? Like, are they even using them? It's just an immature movement in society. Like, things should always be my way. I should be powerful. Women should shut the heck up. Children should stay in their place.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a type of immaturity that can start in the brain, but it's still a lack of development and a sickness and trauma
the problem is this: that a lack of development has to do with the neurons that's firing in your brain and your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you are developed.
Biological.
Every experience you have creates neurological firings, hence pathways. Yep. Yes. So everything you do and who you are today is very neurological. It's all through you. Hence, the evidence even shows it. And I'm going to read the rest of this, and it might become more clear by the end of this paragraph. On the other hand, our findings of an association between the anterior cingulate cortex volume and political attitudes may be linked with tolerance to uncertainty. One of the functions of the anterior cingulate cortex is to monitor uncertainty and conflicts. Thus, it is conceivable that individuals with a larger ACC have a higher capacity to tolerate uncertainty and conflicts, allowing them to accept more liberal views. Such speculation provides a basis for theorizing about the psychological constructs and their neural substrates underlying political attitudes. However, it should be noted that every brain region, including those identified here, invariably participates in multiple psychological processes. It is therefore not possible to unambiguously infer that from involvement of a particular brain area that a particular psychological process must be involved. So let me just go.
Can you break that down?
Let me just show you what I'm really trying to say here. What I am saying that neurologically, there's evidence that people are wired these ways. People are wired these ways. You can't say, well, this caused this or that, because it's still some research needs to be done. But what I am saying, and why I even looked up the research, is to say that when you see people, you see a certain level of rigidity. You see a certain level of a hyper vigilance. You see a hyper startle response when you talk to these people. You see how fast they get angry. You see how easy they're tempered. You see how they're so locked in the way that they see a thing that is very impossible for them to see the other thing. In fact, they're very what is the word I'm looking for? They lack empathy many times even. So many, and that's a major thing because empathy, you need your prefrontal cortex region of the brain to be working. Because you're locked in your amygdala, putting you in fight and flight mode, that you can't even get there to reason at all. So you're staying down in your limbic system and kicking down through your brainstem is sending all types of let's say chemicals throughout your body to keep you in a very hyper alert, hyper aware, hyper aggressive manner. I'm pardon, I'm sleepy too. But nonetheless,
Listen, I'm not sleepy, but you're dropping some knowledge here because you're filtering how we process information, and not only that, our experiences too. Like everything is part of the process. Like we can't experience something and don't think that it doesn't have a neurological response. It does. And so from that, and then what you're digesting from the media, from your environment, all of that gives you this play. And we see how in certain people, they can process it longer or better. And so they have a liberal viewpoint. Then some people are hyper fearful or have hyper issues or hyper rigidity. And they use the amygdala, as you say, wherever that is.
We all use the amygdala.
You all use it, but I mean, they're just more active. Let's say that.
Okay.
And so we see how liberal falls in the brain, our liberal views, and how these very rigid conservative views falls in the blame. And then we see the digestion of the behavior. But the behavior, what we see more, what I'm seeing with these Trumpies is the arrogance, this thought process that whatever they feel or think, it makes sense. They can make anything fake. Now fake news is the thing. Trump started it, and now that's the word. Everything that we don't know what's actually authentic anymore, because if he doesn't like it, it's fake. And so we live in this environment. We see these behaviors being manifested, but is that, and I see how you broke it down scientifically. It makes sense. It's very sensical. But then how we stop these people, bro? Can we break this down? How we get to them so they can understand? Listen, check this man out for sure before you do some loading. Be careful.
Well, we need to know.
Be careful
that people are wired this way. And I'm arguing. I think D. Cliff makes a good point here. He says they can't say anything with certainty because there are too many variables, and sometimes the researchers screw up too. But what I will say is the reason why I'm looking, and the researchers didn't screw up in this. They actually shared that it can't cause. They can't, for a fact, say that one thing causes another. Right? They're just noticing some things through their scans and self-report questionnaires and that type of thing. So, but what I am saying is, and what I've concluded, in this case, conceptualization, that people who are very right-winged have very similar traits to traumatized folk. And there's people who've been traumatized live in different ways, right? So one set of people who've been through high levels of trauma and traumatization become very rigid and closed off. Then there's other people who experience trauma become very chaotic and maybe disorganized.
Where's black people? Because we're traumatized.
I think, well, I can't say that black people are all traumatized, but I will say this. No, I can't do that. I will say, but as a whole, I mean, as a group, the way that you want to measure it, I think you're saying that this society has.
I'm talking about group trauma, generational trauma
has caused trauma, right? It has caused trauma. So, yes. But as anybody or any group that experiences trauma, people on the spectrum. That's why you see some people in our group that are very rigid, very protective, very defensive. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you see them very liberal, very open, very non-conformatory, non-compliant. So what I'm saying, either way is problematic. But what you have is people who tend to be more on the rigid side and more, let's say, closed off side, more hyperactive amygdala, left brain thinking side, where very logic, fact based, and very non-empathetic many times.
So these are
These
black Trumpies. You're saying
I'm
that's just
saying
how they are.
Candace Owens is a poster child. So
These,
when you think, so we talking about a
respect
black
yourself,
woman, but
Tickets.
I don't even know the men per se. I know them who I talk to, and
Joe
some of
Brown.
them, huh?
Joe Brown.
Judge Joe Brown, a great example where he has no empathy. He says anything he
Mm-mm.
wants to say out his mouth. Elon Musk is not a black what's his name, Musk or whatever his name.
Muskie. Muskie is is another one, but
Yeah,
he has no
he's
empathy
very
for
rigid,
nobody.
very
Yep.
robotic, very
Yep.
unempathetic. And then you have people on the other side, right? And you have
Right.
people in the middle who are more balanced, more integrated, more, so I'm saying black people as a whole, we are in all these different we're on the spectrum. But when we're talking about people like Elon Musk and all the black people that seem very similar to him, or also Trumpsters or wannabe
Ben
Trumpsters
Carson.
or undercover Trumpsters, yes, they're very logical, left
Yes.
brain, and anything. Feelings don't matter, emotions don't matter, none of that stuff matters
Yep.
because this is the fact. And these are people who are like either they I'm not even gonna say this, that'll get me in trouble. But what I will say is they have
We
many
want to be
traits.
trouble.
They have
We want
traits.
trouble.
I gotta be cautious because I don't want to disrespect anybody. So they have traits that are very similar to, let's say, people with personality disorders that are more, let's say, narcissistic. Um,
Oh,
and,
that's
and, and, and
Crumpy.
there's people who are also pretty rigid who tend to, let's say, have traits similar to, they might say they might be more Asperger's type, right?
Ooh.
And I think Elon Musk should have come out and said, I think he came out saying he was on the spectrum or something like that. But nonetheless, I don't
I
know.
don't know, but
But
it
what
would
I'm
fit.
saying is these traits and things are very rigid. They see things in a very factual sense. And I'm not saying people on the spectrum don't have very caring, because the spectrum is a spectrum as well. That's why they call it a spectrum. So, but nonetheless, but there are some traits that stick out, and you tend to find these with these right wing conservatives or right wing people who don't call themselves conservatives, or I don't know. What I'm saying is these fundamentalists. It doesn't matter when you're in a group and you are an extreme fundamentalist, you become what they call a right winger. People who don't necessarily see things as advancement and evolution and cultural evolution, and they see things in very rigid hierarchical from these very rigid hierarchical positions. These people are typically those who would be more likely tuned in and also could become very Trump-like or very conservative or very appeased by someone like Candace Owens. Because it doesn't mean that Candace Owens doesn't say facts, because she will say facts. But when what she's going to do is fool you, and
Yep.
when she's telling you a fact that you can resonate with, and then somehow you believe that she became human.
Yep.
See, because she doesn't really, she struggles with feeling people. You can tell that. And the way that she just sits there and smirks and laughs at people in their face. I mean, she's really good at also acting like she cares.
When
She's
she's
really good at
when she's
she's
empathetic, she goes
no,
to the end of it.
I think
Yeah.
it's performative, by the way. I
Very
don't.
performative.
Yeah, I think it's performative because she
Yeah.
can really laugh. Like when you hear her talk about the killings of black people, and just the faces and the smirks and the smiles and just her physical gestures
She's a
is
character.
is very evident of someone who might. Oh man, I can't even look.
I don't think she go home as Candace Owens. I think that when she get home, she take
no
off her
diagnosis
uniform.
here, family. No diagnosis here. I gotta stay out of diagnosis lane. But what I'm just saying, she's a rigid, very robotic person that doesn't seem to have a lot of empathy.
That's true. I
And
don't think
these,
she go home as Candace, bro. I think she go home and she has to take the suit off because she's performing. She is a character. We got to understand she's a caricature
well,
of a black woman. I
yeah.
think
Well, the other thing is most of these people have low self-esteem. That's what we also have to consider
Candace,
mentally. Yes. See, what happens
Trumpy.
is, yes, absolutely. They're hurt. Their little girl and little boy inside of them is hurt and screaming out to be important,
Oh,
to be accepted, to be to be
that's like Lee
they want
Grant say. They little
they
bitty babies.
they will do anything for adulation. It doesn't
Anything.
matter if it's good or bad. They'll do like they say, people with that type of personality tend to any type of attention is good is good. Doesn't matter. You prefer the soft, gentle, attention where someone coddles you, but on the other hand, you really don't care as long as you get attention.
Wow.
So you will come up with more and more bogus claims and more this, and
you're seeing it in real time though.
Yeah.
This is what we see in real time daily.
So we have to. So I care for my brothers and sisters that fall in this lane, but I do think that there's a need for collective healing, collective therapy, collective a collective intervention, because they need to balance that out a bit.
Okay. We've been here hour and 40. No one has come off the chat to get on stage to talk to you. We wanted to see that tonight, especially in such a dramatic conversation. We want some black Trumpies, and even our white Trumpies. Come see us. But we've been here an hour and 40. We're about to close this down. I just want you guys to like, share, subscribe. Subscribe to Black Box Radio. Go over to Dr. Dr. Dennis Asar Winkler. Subscribe to this brother. He is a scholar in our community. He's dropping science on us, and also it's very relatable. So support his work. Support Black Box Radio. Let's black up the algorithm. We're here every. I think we're gonna be Thursday next week. We're changing to Thursday because the superstar is busy on Wednesdays. So we got to change to 9 p.m. on Thursdays. I hope that's good for everyone. Come in. If not, you can see the playback on Black Box Radio and Dr. Dot Station. So like, share, subscribe, family. We're going to get a final jewel from our big brother here. But all I want to say is, listen, vote for whoever you want to vote for. But understand that be careful, because I don't like either of them.
I'm telling you.
That's the truth.
When
So can you talk to your jewel before you drop your track? You're a DJ. You're into what the?
No, I didn't mean that. But yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
DJ.
No, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it seemed like with
The
some
final jewel.
It froze. I don't have. No, I mean, I want to ask you to drop the jewel. What did you get?
I did. I said, be careful with these politics. They pandering and everybody happy, but be careful.
Everybody's, appeasing one way or another to your vote.
They want your vote, baby.
Well, I'm not saying that makes them. That's just what people does. To be honest,
Yep.
when they trying to win, even if you were trying to get votes as the homecoming queen,
Yeah.
or the queen.
That's true.
But the reality is there is some issues in our society on both sides. This week it was about black male Trump voters. I love my brothers. This is not to attack them, but this is just more of an educational framework. And maybe some hypotheticals and just some things have been running through my mind as I notice how we move. And I see it to some degree as being somewhat of a also problematic to the individuals who are stuck in that left side or that limbic system aspect of their brain or their brain stem, also known as the reptilian brain. Whose amygdala is overactive and giving them false signals that keep them in a hyper state of arousal. I see it as problematic for the relationships we're in, and I see it played out. And I just say, look, do some work. I gotta do the work too. We all gotta do the work.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we struggle with. I'm sorry. What I want to say is, the world is not black and white. There's gray in the world, and when we look at things in these very fundamentalist, hierarchical ways, we are walking the wrong walk. And if we're doing the other side where we don't want any order, we're walking the wrong walk. We have to have balance. Until next time, Queen. That's all I
Yes,
got to
it
say. I think that 10 o'clock thing is also starting to hit me a bit.
You
So,
said balance. That sounded like your jewel. We need balance in society and in thought. Listen, next Thursday, 9 p.m., we back in the box, Doc in the box. Holla at us. Good night, everyone. Deuces.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind